This is the third in our series of Question Time events filmed at the Belfry earlier this month. I've had a question come in from Roy Rigby from Man City, and Roy wanted to ask the panel in general, but his question's focused on football, but I want to throw it out to all areas. His words are, is there any help out there for non-league clubs, like advice from this group, with times being harder now for them? You know, they're not getting the support that they need. They probably need our help, or your help, more than ever. Is it only a phone call away, a text or an email? He's sure, you know, guys are doing stuff. I know, you know, Roy probably won't mind me saying he does quite a bit for, you know, smaller clubs around his area on the quiet rather than shouting about it. Is there stuff in place, or is this something we feel as a group we should be doing? As it was talking about non-league football, I'm going to throw that again more to James, because you're obviously in the football arena there with Stevenage. I know you're doing a lot for developing youth. Are you doing anything, or are you aware of anything that's out there to help smaller clubs around you?
Currently, I'll admit I haven't. I'm so focused internally with what I do along the apprentice line that I just don't have the resources. But I think with social media now the way it is, Twitter especially, it is just it's a message or a DM away. And I think advice, any advice that we can give goes a very, very long way, from the very simple to more complex pieces of advice. I think going higher up the scale, clubs, smaller clubs, they need advice, but they need machinery as well. I think, you know, it's all very well saying, yeah, you know, you need to get in there and from the basics to aerate or something along those lines. They might just not have the money to do it. Whereas if they're local enough and you have the equipment to go down and do it for them, would be a start. But it's very, very difficult. We definitely couldn't do it here, but from advice, it is just a click away. Yeah.
Andy, have you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, no, I've not got involved at all since I started at St George's Park. But when I was at Southampton, we were doing a fair bit. Our women's team played at a local, I think, Tier 4 ground, Southern League ground. So we've actually ended up taking on the maintenance of that, or so we did. The Saints are still doing it, and we put a groundsman in there with our own kit, and he maintained it. It still does full time for predominantly the Saints ladies team, but then the Saints under 23s team also play there now, and also obviously the Tottenham themselves get the full benefit of it as well. And then on the back of that, there was another team in the same league on the other side of the city that we got involved with as well, and that was only in the last sort of 12 months or so, and that got no further than just advice. But I visited it 3 or 4 times and was more than happy to do so, made relationships with the people there. They did have a little bit of money to spend, so I just advised them the best way to spend their money for what they wanted to achieve on the pitch that they had. We advice-based really, but Eastleigh, who are obviously in the conference, we have strong links with them as well. Sort of their ground staff are on the match day team at Southampton. I know that a couple of my lads went and helped them with a few match days, etc. We've lent them machines. We've gone over there and visited. We've offered advice. I think offering advice and helping out is down to the individual's choice, I suppose. So I wanted to help get involved, so I did. You mentioned Roy doing it. I think I've seen on Twitter that Roy does it at Hensford in particular, which is really good. But Yeah, it comes down to money, what they can and can't do, and then James just touched upon sort of taking machinery to places. That can be very, very tricky when it comes to insurances.
Yeah.
It's not your machine; it's your employer's machinery. And if something was to happen to you or it when you're using it, either on the road or off-site on these non-league grounds, then crikey, you know, you could be.
My experience is that from my years in the industry now, watching how you guys work, is there's there's a core of people that are willing to share knowledge. Sharing resources and kit obviously is more difficult, but I would suggest perhaps, you know, if you want to ask a question, use one of the social media channels perhaps for one of the bigger groups, either Turf Business, GMA, something like that. Pop it on Twitter there, and I'm sure you'll get something in terms of a reply. I don't know, Craig, I'll come to you on this. Is it the same in golf? Are people very happy to share knowledge? I mean, there's obviously different structures in golf and different levels.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of like smaller clubs around about us, and we're happy to help out. You know, it's like Andy says, you know, when it comes to machinery, it gets a bit tricky sometimes, but yeah, you always try to help where you can. And sometimes it's just more people want to chat to you and just maybe get a bit of advice, or just, you know, or maybe just kind of sound you out, or just want to pick your brains, and that's good. I quite like that, because it's the same with, you're a bigger club, but you know, some of your best ideas come from your smaller clubs as well, you know, so it's good to have a bit of a chat with other guys round about you. And that's not only golf clubs as well, you know, we help out our local football team. Okay, it's a junior football team, but we'll go and help up with a pitch now and again if they need a bit of better drain work or whatever, you know, we'll try to help out as much as possible.
I know in cricket, Gary, there's a lot of little seminars. I know Dennis Sysis run them for cricket and bowls actually. There seems to be more of perhaps a tradition and a structure of having more formal events to share that information, but do Edgbaston or Warwickshire, you know, have a structure in place to help smaller groups? Smaller clubs?
A bit similar to what Andy said really. It's you know, it's a case of we always my phone's always available, obviously social media I'm on, to give advice, and we do speak to quite a few number of the clubs, and a lot of, you know, I know obviously Stu's on the call today. He does a lot with the Essex Groundsman Association. A lot of people do things like that. There's a couple of things. Obviously, the kit situation is. I totally agree with that. You know, we've sort of said about kit being the insurance, and it's just a little bit awkward. So we do give advice to probably 6 or 7 clubs. We've got our own satellite ground that we play a second team cricket at, and if our second team or the age groups go round, generally I will go out and have a chat with them. But there's no structure in place. The other thing is obviously you've got a lot of other things going on in your life as well, you know, and it is quite tricky that you've got a stadium or a golf course or wherever you're looking after to do, and then you've also got your family at home as well. So you have to balance everything to do all of those things as well. So probably putting a structure in place would be good, so people can sort of feed in and feed out. But that could be down to more of a hub where you can draw information down, rather than sometimes always having to go and visit, especially in the times we're in at the moment.
Yeah. Similar situation in schools, is it? I guess it's a different way of funding. There's big schools and there's the smaller schools.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of school groundsmen that talk with each other in terms of outside of that remit. When I was at my last place, we did speak with another school about trying to do some work with them. But it's time. It's just... It's finding time. Advice is a phone conversation or a quick email is quite quick, but to go out and do that with us on a manager's site is quite challenging at times.
Okay. So I think to sum up on that one, I think what Andy said about it being a personal choice is quite right, because you know, everybody's got different things going on in their lives, and if that's something you've got time and a desire to do, then do it. But also, don't be afraid to reach out, because there's lots of guys that do want to help. Yeah. Okay.